I got nothing. I want to make my first 10 million. How am I going to do this? I'm going to want something that's very low capital expenditure and very high free cash flow generation. So I want an industry where there is just a boatload of companies. That's my profile. That's the secret sauce. And I could take my first exit in a relatively short time period. And now I've got that 10 million in the bank. And now it's about how do I scale that thing organically. And let me just cover the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs just keep making over and over again.
Welcome to another episode. We just did an episode and we just
we're efficient, JT. We're knocking two out at once.
We're here to do M&A deal makers, and really this is how hundreds of millions are made. It's where the big money is right now. Last week on show we talked about real estate versus M&A, and I've done over 1,100 real estate deals, so I would know. But today we're going to talk about if we started from scratch and you knew nothing, even if you know something, what would you do for you to make your first $10 million? Okay, and I'm talking about in the bank doing this as well. Adam Coffey, 2.46 billion in exits, 58 acquisitions. Myself, over 70 companies and brands all over the world, and we do this show. Number one, to educate people. Number two, to possibly do it with you. Use our money, and then we'll roll up companies under you. Number three, you just want to scale your business so that you can exit one day. When you exit, we may be able to help you. And Adam and I in Dallas and Sydney do it live and also watch on Zoom. All we ask is people cover the cost, $198, and teach you 2 days, 20 hours over a 2-day period. The link is in the chat for that as well. And why? It's not about the $198. It's about the amount of deal flow that we get, the amazing people, the amount of roll-ups, women's vitality. We have 2 accountings that we're working on right now. Working on roofing, alarm company. What else? With power washing. These are like, it's just one of many dozen. IT. We just had a meeting the other day as well. So many things. But the theme today, Adam, is, okay, I'm brand new. We'll take it from two forts. I'm brand new. I want to get into the M&A space, and then I have a company I'd like to exit. So we'll do both. Hopefully we get both of them done in 20 minutes. So an M&A deal maker is someone who says, I don't own a company right now, but I want to do what JT and Adam does. And I want to put companies together and take a piece on top. And by rolling them up and getting them to $4 million so that you profit EBITDA, so that we can exit at $32 to $36 million. And if we get it to 10 million, we can exit at $100+ million. And you could do it yourself or you could do it with us. What's the first step people need to know? Because it's not like real estate investing. And someone done a lot of deals in real estate investing. You would go in and you'd get a contractor who knows how to do the work. And you can comp the properties fairly easy based on recent sales, right? So it's a little bit easier because there's data to be able to this. The M&A company valuations and is the wild, wild west. Talk about that.
So you prefaced it with, I got nothing. I want to make my first 10 million. How am I going to do this? Well, recognize first of all that you're never going to get there ever if you're a W-2 employee working for somebody else. This is going to happen, through business ownership. So I got nothing, which means I'm going to want to buy something. I'm not going to worry about companies 2, 3, 4, 5 and doing a roll-up yet. I'm going to worry about the fundamentals, finding one good business that I can use essentially the cash flow in the business to kind of bankroll the debt that I'm going to need in order to buy the company. And if I've got nothing to risk, I've got nothing to lose. Don't get hung up on the fact that I might use an SBA loan and I need a personal guarantee, or that I have to put my ass on the line in order to get the capital I need to buy that first company. But my focus would be first company. I want to have a profile of a business that gives me a high probability of success. So I'm going to focus on a company that's needs-based, not wants. I need a new roof. I want a new car. A needs-based business does better in a down cycle, when the economy is struggling. I'm going to want something that's very low capital expenditure and very high free cash flow generation. So that means a service business, either a professional service business, could be like an accounting firm, or a blue collar service business, could be like, a landscape maintenance or janitorial services, something like that. I want contracted revenue, not project based. So contracted revenue stream, I got a pest control company, I've got a contract with every homeowner. I hit their credit cards every month, and I only go once a quarter, JT. I don't even show up every month. I bill them every month. I only go once a quarter, which means my guy in the truck or my lady in the truck with the spraying equipment, boy, they can service a lot of homes when I only have to go once every 3 months to a home, right? So I want service business, low capital expenditure, contracted revenue, high free cash flow generation, very low capital expenditure requirements. Think about like that landscape maintenance company. I got to buy a truck, a lawnmower. Think about a bookkeeping accounting firm. I need to buy a computer, and put it on a desk. My products in my head, and so I don't need a factory. I don't need a lot of heavy construction equipment like graders and dump trucks and crap like that. So I've got this profile going. That means that the company that I buy, now I need fragmentation. So I want an industry where there is just a boatload of companies. There's 1.8 million accounting firms in the United States, 1.8 million. Not enough buyers of the small ones to drive up the prices that are being paid. So I can get something at a low price that has contracted recurrent revenue, that has low capital expenditure, high free cash flow generation. Now I'm really cooking with gas. And all I have to do, JT, now is I have to get into that first business. Right now, with all these retiring baby boomers out there having to sell and transition businesses, many of them wealthy, many of them not looking for a giant payday, it's time to move on. I could get into a company. Let's say I find a pest control company owned by a 70-year-old. Maybe I get into that business, I learn it, they teach me that business, and over the course of like a 12-month period, I buy them out. And I might use a small SBA loan, or I'll use seller financing. I'll use cash flow in the business to generate the payments, and that I need to make. And I see a lot of businesses, you're hearing it all over the internet. It doesn't happen every day. It's not always easy. Sometimes we need equity. So I need to go find some partners or some family and friends to give me some capital, some seed money. But generally speaking, it's like sometimes I can find that 70-year-old who just wants to transition, and maybe they're willing to give me seller financing and they'll clip a coupon. When my brother and I bought our insurance agency like 18 years ago, we bought it from a 70-year-old who gave us 25% of the capital we needed as financing, and he just wanted to clip a coupon. And we bought it below market value, paid $4 million for it at the time. He gave us $1 million in free financing. I went to a family office and I brought in the capital we needed to buy the rest of it, and then the agency we bought paid off the family office in 5 years. And then my brother and I ran it for 15 years. He ran it. I just got checks from him, and then we sold it for 12 million. So it's not a huge business, but it was an ATM. It was distributing 1.5 to 2 million a year in free cash to us, once it was paid off. And so that's my profile. That's the secret sauce, and once I get the first, dynamic totally changes. Now I'm in the industry. I'm a CEO running that business. Now I can go buy a second business easier than it was to buy the first. I can buy a third easier than it was to buy the first. It's like it gets easier as we get bigger because now we're an expert in the field. We've got the cash flow from our first business plus the cash flow from the business we're buying now. And so don't worry about the fourth company. Let's get in the first. And let's become an owner of the business using the cash flow in the business to service the debt. Maybe I got an equity partner because I needed some capital. Maybe I got the retiring person to be the equity capital that I needed. However I got into it, I'm now in it. Now the dynamic has changed. Now I can look for company 2, 3, 4, and I could take my first exit, in a relatively short time period. And now I've got that 10 million in the bank. But I'd be worth 10 million on paper pretty quickly.
I'm gonna bring another one too. Apart is that we create something where you can just introduce us to people, and then let me and Adam close the deal for you. All you gotta do is make that introduction, uh, and in essence, borrow our credibility, which uh, is a lot of people don't sometimes realize that when you come in, you have no credibility at first, right? And just getting in that introduction, and then there's two things: you can get paid up front when we close on the company and partner with the company, or you could take it on the back end and be part of the LLC, and then just learn and learn the process of doing that, because there is a learning curve, right? You have to learn scaling, you have to learn evaluation, there's a lot of things that you need to learn. It's not impossible.
There's risk. There's risk in everything we do, JT. If I work for somebody, I got the risk of being laid off, whacked, fired. If I'm in a business, I've got risk that the business could fail. That's why I painted the profile, because I wanted to find a business that has less likelihood of facing issues and problems that are macro, driven. And now it's just about my own personal execution.
Yeah, no, that's a very, 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 very good point on that part. So that's if you want to be a deal maker, put companies together as well. Now you own your own company and you would like to acquire companies yourself or with us or whatever, but you want to start saying, you know what, I need to build a scale, right? And I haven't really thought about that because I'm working in my business rather on my business. What do they got to do? And by the way, remind everybody, we'd love to do it with you or just literally teach you everything we know. Whether it's scaling or putting companies together, the link is in the chat there as well. Just cover the cost of the room, $198. We do it in Dallas, Sydney, or on Zoom. Preferably, we want to see you in person. And that's where we find a lot of deals. So the majority of people will just take the knowledge and maybe do nothing. Some will partner with us, and some in there will do it ourselves. But there's one thing's going to happen. If you don't show up, nothing's going to happen. And that's why we're doing another one in May in Dallas, because we found 13 deals at the last one we did in February, and doing Australia in August for one time and last time. So go ahead, Adam.
Well, unless we just have so much fun, JT, I can talk my family into going back every year. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Knock on wood. Yeah. So, so going back to our little dilemma, it's like finding the right industry, finding the right company within an industry that has a profile that stacks the odds in my favor. Now I'm in. We can't just buy a bunch of companies and slam them together and sell them for high numbers to PE. They have to get integrated, and so we have to harness synergies. We have to grow organically. So there's a branding element, there's a marketing element, there's a running an efficient business element. There's a lot to do once I get inside that perfect little company. But now I'm in the game. I've got the chips I need. I'm sitting at the right table. And now it's about, how do I scale that thing organically? How do I maximize the profit potential by running the business efficiently? Now, how do I pivot and look for other additional opportunities to buy other similar companies I can pull in? And let me just cover the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs just keep making over and over again is they're so focused on finding the quintessential good deal that they buy fixer-uppers or companies that just the fundamentals aren't there, or they suck, and they just think, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. And if they think they're going to fix it, they're missing the whole entire point of doing an M&A buy and build. I don't create value by fixing a company that's underperforming. That's like taking that C building, trying to make it an A building. That's not where the money's made. All I have to do is buy good companies, pay fair market value, which if I'm in this highly fragmented industry buying small, the multiples I'm paying for these companies are low. Put good companies together, harness the synergies that exist, grow that thing organically. The returns are made by the multiple expansion and arbitrage that occurs naturally just by getting bigger. So by doing M&A, I'm accelerating the growth, which gets me to bigger faster and gets me to the multiple expansion faster. So if I'm buying companies at 3 or 4 times, but it's going to sell at 8 times when I've got it at 4 million, the magic isn't buying something that's distressed and fixing it. The magic is buy stuff that's good and integrate it. I'm going to get the multiple expansion just by simply putting the companies together and getting bigger. That's where the return is coming from. So my golden rule, even though I'm a turnaround guy, is don't buy companies that are distressed. Let somebody else do that. You pay fair market value for a good company in a great industry, and the multiple arbitrage will reward you for just doing what is occurring naturally and accelerating the pace. So stop looking at losers and bad companies with bad numbers. Only buy good stuff. It's hard enough to integrate. Buy good stuff.
Why is it easier for people to acquire revenue rather than scale to 4 million in EBITDA and profits, right? So a lot of people think, well, you can't grow organically, but even spending money on advertising, if you're making $1 million a year to 4, talk about these economics.
Or organic growth is just slow, and I'm not talking about the world of venture capital and startups where I go from $1 of revenue and I get to $2 in revenue and I've grown 100% and I'm losing money, left and right at the net profit line. It's like organic growth is good and it's slow, but a lot of the industries that we're talking about, JT, are mature industries. So these are industries that have been around for a long time. How long have we had accountants and bookkeeping and accounting firms? A very long time. So it's a mature industry, a mature market, and the entire market is being served by somebody today, which means in order to grow my business, I have to steal share, if I'm scaling organically from somebody else. And people are doing that every day, but you're going to have some churn. You're going to get clients, you're going to lose some clients. As you said, depending on the kind of company, I'm going to have to spend a lot of money on digital marketing or marketing, and I'm going to have to build my clientele base. And so we can grow, and there's a lot of great companies out there that are growing, and maybe they're growing at 10%, but 10% isn't fast enough. If I have $1 million in revenue growing at 10%, it takes 7 years, 7.2 years to be exact, to get to 2 million in revenue. And to get from 2 million to 4, it's going to take another 7.2 years growing at 10%. So 15 years down the road, I've gone from 1 million to 2 million to 4 million. And if I have a 10% earnings company, I'm only at 400,000 in earnings. If I have 20%, I'm still under $1 million. And so it's going to take me an entire career to get it up to that exit point where that multiple arbitrage is real and it's taking place. So if I just build a good fundamental company, but then I go find 3 more that also have good fundamentals and I put them together, I eliminate that 14 or 20 year worth of organic growth trajectory at 10%. And I've accelerated the growth rate in a very capital efficient manner using the cash flow of the businesses that I'm buying to service the debt. Then I can shave decades off of my growth trajectory. My last company, I bought 23 in 5 years. To try to grow that company that I had organically to a size that equaled the 23 companies I bought in 5 years would have taken 100 years. And a private equity firm only has 5. So, to typical hold period to do it. So M&A accelerates growth. It accelerates value creation as long as it's done well.
And that's what we want to do it with you or yourself, whether you have deals or whether or not you want to bring us deals, or whether you have a company you want to scale fast so that one day you can exit. And maybe we just take a look under the hood, take you under your wing and exit there. The link is there in the comment for all of these opportunities we like to do with you. But it is a great space, but it's constantly evolving, constantly challenging. On our last show, which we recommend you review all our last shows, not in any particular order. We talked about roofing, we talked about alarming, we talked about accounting. And on our next show, what should we talk about? Or are we just going to...
You know what, JT? You are, I think, one of the world's best people when it comes to branding and marketing. And branding, when I'm doing a buy and build and I've got all these different names and I'm putting them together, that creates unique issues that have to be addressed. You're one of the world's leading authorities on branding and marketing. It's like maybe we need to talk about something like that.
Well, maybe we'll talk about do you take, Johnny's roofing company, right? But then, you have to sort of think about what's the PE company, who's going to come in, what do they want to buy? And I think a lot of people tie their business to their name, which sometimes make it unsellable. And we'll talk about, we talk about the exit strategy also on the next
Sure.
show, because that's the most amount of money you're ever going to make. But there's also that fear, which we'll talk about on this, the next show.
Yeah, might be fun too somewhere down the road to bring in some of the entrepreneurs we're actually partnering with and talk to them about their stories and why they decided
Yeah, that's a
to
good
do
point.
something with
That's a
us.
good point. You know, listen, our model is completely different. No one's doing it like we are. We've technically disrupted the industry. But I kind of remember Adam saying to me, you know, JT, because what I did is I have obviously 7, 8 companies around the world, and I focus, you know, for me to come down the mountain and do this is a lot of work. And because I do make a lot of money in other things as well with my own companies and this and Adam's like, well, it takes about 9 months to a year, and just, you know, and we did it in less than 30 days, if you think about it, right? And the quality of people, and that's by disrupting the model, and finding great people.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tell you, you know, it's like the platform, the how we're doing this is different. It is unique, and it does allow for some acceleration and volume as well. And I would say that for me, it's less about volume, it's more about quality. When I think about the entrepreneurs that we are partnering with, these are really high caliber, high quality people that get it. They understand, they're coachable, you know, and they have great businesses to begin with. And they still said, I need your help because I want to do something special in my own space, in my own industry. I want to grow fast. And I know that while you've been teaching me the how, I know that it would be so much easier if I did it with you rather than without you.
And also, too, I think people realize, fine, you're making $1 million a year, that's great. But can you really exit for 32 to 36 million? Can you really exit for 9 figures? And that's a different skill set. And by the way, you can't do it alone. But I'm more happy to give you the information for you to do it alone, but we'd much rather do it together. That's the link there. And if you could do me a favor, if you can subscribe to the channel, like this, and comment, what are your thoughts on there? It helps the algorithm. We give a lot of value here, and we do enjoy the deals. We do enjoy the people, and I see so many other people teaching this or doing the wrong way, but you know, people don't know. You know, they don't know what they don't know. And that's okay. When you come here, you know that this is what we did yesterday, what we did today, and what we will do tomorrow with you, or you by yourself as well. Thank you for listening. Link in the chat. Adam, make sure you pick up my book, Business is War, which is basically an homage.
I need a JPEG, JT. I need a high def JPEG,
well, it is
so I
coming
can
out
I can
on
put it on the
paperback.
wall in my office.
I will. I will. And by the way, you are in that book, and I'm also in your one of your 3 books, Empire Builder, and 3 other books. And what's very interesting, by the way, we have the paperback version that's now available. You know, the book thing is a very interesting thing. It's a lot of work. I probably could have started 10 companies for the work, and we should probably talk about that on our next show. It is not a business card. I think it's a complementation to almost a lead gen de factoly, but there's much cheaper ways to get a lead gen than writing a book, ironically enough. But who would have known? But I had a billionaire text me the other day. He's like, dude, I don't read. You guys a billionaire, right? And he goes, I thoroughly enjoyed your book, and it made me feel better about, you know, because I talked about everybody's problems and all our mistakes. And I think too many people, we should do a show completely the next couple ones, all the mistakes that people make. Like, what are when exiting a company, when buying a company, we should just do so that people
that'd be
can
fun.
learn right here. So we'll have fun as well. But you guys got to share it. You guys got to comment. You got to like. We want to see you live or on Zoom, prefer live, because we want to do business with you and want to say, hey, partner, that's the ultimate goal. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.